My name is Dr. Angie Barnum, and on behalf of myself and the other staff members here, including Dr. Judy Batker, Annie Henderson, and Dr. Daniela Martinez, we'd like to welcome you to the very first EI Cafe webinar of our webinar series, our new webinar series. I'm very happy to welcome you. You are here as a professional within the working equid community, a supporter, stakeholder, volunteer, partner, or someone interested in the well-being of working equids. This space is intended to be an excellent opportunity to learn more about the work that EI does, to meet others invested in working equid health and welfare, and to reconnect with why it matters. EI seeks to develop a community for professionals in working equid welfare in a cafe-style space, such as this, to share challenges and to strengthen success. The webinars are offered once every other month on the third Wednesday of the month. If you have suggestions or requests for future topics, please email me and I will place my email address in the chat. Tonight's webinar is a presentation with some room for optional discussion and questions following. We intend to keep this webinar at just an hour. The following are a few expectations we have of you as a participant. They include that a muted microphone is best and preferred. If possible, do turn your camera on as it's helpful to see your face, or just listen in if you're unable to turn your camera on tonight. Post any questions in the chat, which is located, it should be located at the bottom of your screen. There should be an icon to open the chat. So please type your questions in the chat and we will answer them at the end. If you choose to speak at the end instead of chat, please share your name and introduce yourself. However, we do prefer those questions to be written down in the chat as they come in so that we can categorize them and ask them of tonight's presenter at the very conclusion of her talk. Tonight's webinar does not offer CE credits. It will, however, be recorded and shared with you later. Finally, at the end, we will post a link to a survey in the chat at the very end of tonight's webinar. Please fill out this survey to help us improve on future offerings. The presentation tonight, Take Time to Give Back to the Horse While Recharging Your Equine Passion, will be a lovely reminder of the reason we are all here as people who believe that working equid health matters. Although we are all here because of the equid, we think it's also important to recognize the intrinsic value that working in volunteer equine medicine has brought us and its effects on our professional and even personal balance and sometimes mental health. We do have a few webinars already scheduled. The next will be June 21st. Even though we're intending to do every other month, we have one sneaking up on us already in June at 7 p.m. Central on June 21st by Dr. Amy McLean, entitled The ABCs of Donkey and Mule Welfare. So watch social media and your email for a registration link in the coming days. And our July webinar topic will be about how to become a volunteer, hosted by Dr. Daniela Martinez, Latin America Programs Coordinator for EI. Again, thank you for being here. I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Judy Batker, Equitarian Initiative Board President, Program Leader, and Program Director for the Equitarian Initiative. Judy is an equine veterinarian in Wisconsin and has been integral to helping young and old veterinarians, technicians, and other supporters to grow as leaders within the Equitarian Initiative and to transition between practice life and equitarian life, and then back again with compassion and guidance. We are very lucky to have her speaking on this topic. So Judy, would you please introduce yourself the rest of the way?
Sure. Thank you, Angie. And thank you, everybody, for being here. We're really excited to start this, and it's because of all of you that we decided to start this. We wanted to stay connected with past volunteers and with other interested people and with past donors and current donors. And we wanted to just create a community that topics could be talked about and we can all be educated and just have a place to learn and grow in the working equid world. So we're really excited to be able to start this. I feel like when I look through the list of names, so many of you are volunteers, current or past volunteers. So I'm not sure, you maybe could give the same talk. I'm not sure you'll learn a lot, but maybe you'll be re-inspired if you haven't been a part of it for a while, or maybe you'll get some tips on how to share things with other interested people as well. So as Angie was saying, I am the Equitarian Initiative president since 2019. And prior to that, and currently, I still lead projects in Pine Ridge, Costa Rica, and Haiti. I am also an equine veterinarian in southern Wisconsin and a owner of our practice. We have 4 other vets who work with me. And then I am the wife of a farmer, a hog and crop farmer, and the mom of 2 teenage boys and a whole pile of animals. So like all of you, I have a busy life outside of volunteering and outside of Equitarian Initiative. I'm going to just go through a little review of Equitarian Initiative, and many of you I can see are very familiar with us. So I'll do it pretty briefly, but in case there are some new people in the crowd, I want to make sure we're all kind of starting on the same page and aware of what we do. So our mission at Equitarian Initiative is stated here to improve the health and welfare of working horses, donkeys, mules, and their families around the world. And our vision is a world where every working horse, donkey, and mule receives basic health care. So who are we? We are all of these listed: veterinarians, technicians, farriers, equine scientists, students, educators from many, many different countries. From everywhere that we meet people, we join together. We do provide care, but we provide it in a setting or in a way that we're teaching. Our goal is always to teach. And so we teach owners, we teach vet students, we teach local veterinarians or local animal caretakers. It depends on the project. They're all a little bit different, but we're always teaching as we're doing. And then we also collaborate with a lot of universities and other NGOs and community partners. What is the need? Some of the current numbers are that over 650 million people rely on working equids for daily survival. They're often the only means of transportation, and they transport children to school, goods to market. They're heavily dependent on for their income, maybe their only source of income. 90% of the world's equid population, or over 200 million, are working equids. So the majority of the horses, donkeys, and mules in the world by far are working equids, and yet only 1% of equine veterinarians are in these areas and caring for these animals. Where is EI in 2023? This is a list nationally of several reservations that we will be working in late, or either are right now as we speak, or will be later this year. And then internationally, these are all the different countries that we will be in or have been in already this year as well. We have multiple projects in some of these countries and are restarting some projects that had to be halted with COVID and are now back on our schedule. And then bigger than that, you know, we're all connected. Like, why do we do this? It's we're all connected with these products that all of us use every day, you know, coffee or cocoa or palm oil. Every consumer uses these products. And so besides the group of us who love horses and want to give back to horses, really everybody is connected and will hopefully someday care about working equids. So what keeps us motivated? What keeps us driven and passionate about this? That's like the key or the secret ingredient that keeps us working and keeps us wanting to do this. And that's really a large part of my talk, and I'll come back to that a little bit later. My computer froze, Angie.
I wonder if we can share it for you. You're still there though, so that's the important part.
It, you just see.
Judy, I'll work with Daniela to have a plan B.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, everybody. I was moving right along and now I can't move here. I'm gonna pull it up, just so I have it in front of me.
Okay, try to close the document and open it again, please.
Yeah, I'm kind of froze. I can't do anything with it.
Right, I'm gonna try to take you off of sharing.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Don't worry, we'll get it sorted.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. It is our first webinar, so you guys get to be in the car as we're learning how to drive it. So it's always a process with the technology.
I'll be sharing it in a moment. Thank you.
One of the fundamental rules of equitarian work is that nothing ever goes as planned.
That's right. We did this on purpose just to show that we can improvise and we're creative.
Exactly. And that's coming from, for those of you who don't know him, our co-founder, Dr. Jay Merriam. So he's a real beacon for knowing all the things that can work and not work.
All right, so
Thanks,
thank
Daniela.
you. All right, so back on track here. So this gets us to like where we are now, the equine veterinary profession. We all know we're really in a crisis. We all know that we're lacking equine vets coming into the practice. We're losing equine vets to other areas of the field. And we know that we have to change our practice models and we have to train clients and improve cultures. We know that we need to talk about what's positive about the profession. Like, I think I love the profession. I think many of us do. And we know we need to better encourage young vets and veterinary students and why they should stay in the profession or why it could be a healthy lifestyle if we make some changes. And I think we also have to really focus on and realize that one size doesn't fit all in this profession. Like some people maybe do great on call. Some people maybe do great working full-time, others part-time. Like we really have to, I think, individualize it. And volunteering, EI is what we'll be talking about tonight, of course, but volunteering is really an important part of that and can really help the both physical and mental health of a lot of veterinarians, young and old. It doesn't matter if you're new to the field or not. Go ahead, Daniela. So why do equine vets burn out and have compassion fatigue, leave the practice? Well, there's a million reasons probably, and these are some of them. And I would think most of you looking at these probably have felt some of these or maybe all of these at times. I think most of us who've been in practice for a while know that they come and go. You don't necessarily feel all of these all the time. I hope not anyway, but it's a tough job. You know, there's a lot of time demand. There's a lot of emotions, highs and lows and everything in between. And people do easily fall into compassion fatigue. And we'll go into why volunteering can really help that as well. Go ahead. So what revitalizes us when we're feeling compassion fatigue or just are tired? You know, so some of the things I think we'd all agree on: spending time with family or friends, doing passionate things we love outside of veterinary medicine and within veterinary medicine. Like, what do we really love to do? You know, that's what we have to spend our time on. That's what we have to try to find and focus on spend as much time doing that as we do doing the work that maybe drains us, so that we can find a balance in between. Go ahead. So some things, as I was thinking about this, some things that we can consider when we're trying to reignite our passion, or better yet, if you want to never lose your passion for equine medicine, you know, kind of remember, like, why did you get into veterinary medicine? What wanted you to be a horse doctor? And then on kind of further back, what did you enjoy doing as a child? You know, sometimes those things are what we forget, and we're all work and no play. And I think remembering what we enjoyed as a child, doing some of those, just like playing with your horse and having fun with it instead of working all the time, can be a very, very important thing to reignite or recharge you. And then within equine medicine, like, what gives you the most joy? If you can do as much as possible of whatever type of practice you really like that'll keep you energized as well. Go ahead. So some of these quotes are from, I hear over and over from many volunteers. And, you know, I get more out of this than I give. This is why I did go into veterinary medicine. The horse has given me so much, I want to give back. You know, those are repeated quotes, and many of you have probably felt this as well. And this picture is really blurry, but I had to put it in there because Dr. Derek Knottenbelt is standing there next to me, and he was one of the first speakers I heard at the 2009 AAEP, which was the first time volunteering and equitarian type work was talked about. And he was super inspiring. And so I found this old picture and wanted to acknowledge that. Go ahead. So why is volunteering helpful to us? I did a little research on this, and like, I think we all know these feelings, but it's actually like proven, and there's actually psychology behind it. And so doing things for others without, you know, without pay or without like having to do it has been proven to physically and mentally help people. So it often will make you happier by increasing those serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, all the kind of happy hormones. It connects you to new friends. Like, we'll see throughout this, and many of you who have done it, we'll see that, you know, this community, this group of people are really like our people, you know, and they're people you can really connect with. They're, you know, like-minded, have similar goals, just really great people. Like, probably nowhere else in the world can you find a group of people that you can have this much fun with and work this hard with at the same time. And then it also, volunteering kind of gets you out of your comfort zone. You know, you go to new places, you do different things. It pushes you and expands your boundaries a little as well. Go ahead. Altruism, which I had to include because Jay Merriam spoke about this in 2010 at that very first equitarian workshop I was at. So I looked up the definition in the Merriam dictionary, just like he recommended, and here it is. But it's exactly what we do. It's an unselfish concern for the well-being of others. So doing something for others, even when there's no gain and maybe even a cost to yourself, you know, physical or financial. But you do it because it's the right thing to do, or you want to do it. And that's true altruism. And really it makes you kind of a part of something bigger than yourself. You know, you could do good by yourself, but you join together, you join with a team, and it like magnifies and multiplies what you can accomplish. And then, of course, it's not surprising to think of equine vets in this category, because we tend to be very empathetic people, very nurturing people anyway. So we really, I think, fall right into volunteering really easily. And so it's a kind of an easy fit for our profession, I think. Go ahead. So what opportunities are there? Well, tonight, of course, we're talking mainly about Equitarian Initiative, but there are many, many options for volunteering. Again, sorry, this picture is a little blurry as well, but it's WEPA, the Wisconsin Equine Practitioner Association, and a group of WEPA vets had a truck day where the local vet students got to come and do workup cases at each of our trucks and practice like what they would do and what they would say, and they love it, and we enjoy it too, and it's great camaraderie amongst us. And so just another example of volunteering. I have a list here, you know, local therapeutic programs, local rescues. Some are high quality rescues that you might want to work with. Around us, we're seeing more and more mental health training, like small groups of people who have patients who come to work with horses, and they're actually like covered by insurance, and the doctors are recommending they come, which is really exciting to see that human medicine is recognizing the value of horse. We all know that value, but it's starting to be recognized. And then, of course, you know, helping with vet students or pre-vets and mentoring. And then I'll put a plug in for organized veterinary medicine because it is so important. So volunteering within AAP or your state VMA or your state equine association, like all of those are very valid and important opportunities to volunteer. And you can do multiples, and I know many of you have. So my history as an example, as I go through this, I'm sure many of you will probably be shaking your heads and be like, yep, that's me, or yep, that's going to be me if I don't watch out. So I was about 15 years into practice, and I was kind of the old school, or at least I'm hoping it's becoming old school, the workaholic 60 plus hours a week. And I'd started to lessen that a little bit because I had 2 young children, but I still worked way too much. And I was really kind of getting tired. Like, this is a Coggins picture. You know, I was tired of doing Coggins and vaccines and kind of the same old, and just not feeling as fulfilled as I should. I really like my clients. I really like my practice, but it just wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't what I wanted out of it anymore. And I didn't feel like maybe I was making a difference to some individual clients in certain situations, but I wasn't making a difference in the world that I wanted to anyway. Go ahead. And so as I mentioned, at the 2009 AAP, I heard about Equitarian Initiative. And then, as fate would have it, and one of my next slides mentions this, I was on the phone with a friend of mine and saying, I really want to travel. I really want to do something more for the world. And I was like, I guess I could go build a house because that's what people do sometimes. I'm like, I don't really know how to build a house. So, and like, as I was talking to her on my email, it came up the advertisement for the first Equitarian workshop. And I saw it, I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to go on this. And luckily I was able to. And so I traveled to Veracruz, Mexico in 2010 and met many of the people here tonight who are on our board. And so now I'm in it. I'm like all in. I want to do it, but I'm like, I want to practice. I have 2 little children. I'm like, how am I going to make this work? So go ahead. So I decided this was key, that you have to just listen to the universe and take the opportunities that come your way. And I was drinking a bottle of kombucha 2 weeks ago when I was preparing for this talk, and all of these words were on that bottle. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. And so I thought that was funny, and I put it on here. But as fate would have it, when I was leaving that first Equitarian workshop, Dave Turoff, who is one of the founding members as well, he and I were the only 2 who didn't have early flights. And so we spent hours walking around Veracruz, and I could ask the million questions I had from the previous 4 days. And it was just, you know, again, fate that there was the 2 of us and we could have this time to talk. And I told him I wanted to travel more, but I had 2 little kids. I didn't really know how to do it. So he told me about Adrienne Otto, who's on the right of me, or left of me, I guess, who was on the workshop as well. And I had met her, but I didn't know her really well. But she had the potential of starting a project in Costa Rica. So I contacted Adrienne. She took off with the project. I joined her. It grew and became our workshop, and then now is the OSA project. And so again, just like, I guess my tip is take those little opportunities that land in your lap and are probably there for a reason. Go ahead. So it's not always been a straight path. And I think anyone involved in this work would probably agree with that. And initially, one of my personal biggest problems were, you know, I would come from this trip to Haiti or Pine Ridge or wherever, and I would see the lack of access to care and the rough conditions of the people and the horses. And I would come home and listen to my clients talk about whatever problem they were seeing. And I really was, you know, kind of discussed it with them. To be honest, I didn't have patience for my clients. I didn't want to listen to them. I felt like their problems were little. And so I'm like, well, this isn't helping my compassion fatigue. It's like growing it, if anything. And then luckily, on one of my trips to Haiti, another vet gave me the tip I have way on the far right side. And those like simple words of not judging others was all it took. And I was like, oh yeah, I can change my mindset on this. And so now I'm back to like, I love working with my clients. I still roll my eyes inside my head some days, but but I really enjoy them and their horses again. And I, you know, it took a little time, but I figured out a way I can do both and truly enjoy both practice and equitarian work. Go ahead. So what is that secret ingredient that I mentioned earlier? Well, I think there's a lot of them. I think they're different for each of us, but I'll go through some of them. And I think these are important reasons why we do this, but also important reasons to share them with like your employer or colleagues, or, you know, if you really want to do this and there's people in your life that maybe aren't as supportive as you wish, these are some of the things you can really explain and communicate. Like, this is why I need to do this. And this is why it's so important to me. So the number one, this is our team from the Osa Peninsula in Costa Rica last year in 2022. And the number one reason for me is this network of people. Like I mentioned before, it's just like really great people that we meet both where we work and who we travel with. And so, you know, like lifelong connections, really close friends. That's like the secret, the biggest secret ingredient for me. There's many others, but that's definitely the biggest. Go ahead. So juggling, as many of you might be thinking right now, like, well, I would love to do this more, but I have family or this hobby, or I work, or, you know, it's a lot to juggle. And that's true, it definitely is. But I think it's worth it. I would still encourage people to try to figure out, even if it's you are only a little bit involved or a lot involved, like there's a place for everybody in some type of involvement. I feel like my equine practice and my life would have been much less satisfying if I hadn't found that balance, and if I hadn't figured out how I could do both. I do also think strongly that having a supportive work family and home family are very important. This picture is Marie, who works with me at my clinic, and then Lauren, who works at a neighboring clinic. And we both are we all are lucky that we have very supportive home families and practice families. But we did have to convince them a little bit. You know, we did have to make sure they understood why this was so important to us. And then they could see us come back from a trip, you know, reinvigorated and just a whole different person. And so they knew pretty quickly why it was important. Go ahead. And then, you know, the other part of why it's tough to juggle, but necessary to juggle, is that we just see the need of the animals, and some places are worse than others, but certainly once you've traveled, as many of you have, the need is great. And then seeing the hope and commitment of local partners, like this is the vet team or vet agent team in Haiti, who most of them are anyway, who's a great team that try to continue working as much as they can while we cannot travel there currently. And then Aki Frassatern, who might be on this call, I'm not sure. Aki is a great role model and inspiration for that team and for all of the vet agents in Haiti. So just trying to be there for them and support them in whatever way we can. We just go for that week and do a little bit of support. But if we are able to do that, I think it makes a big difference for them who are there daily trying to push forward. Go ahead. So again, some of the quotes we hear, I get more than I give. I think Deanna and Hillary would would both agree with that quote for sure. Go ahead. The collaboration and colleagues, again, I keep talking about relationships, and that really is such a huge part of this. And yet another blurry picture, but I kept putting blurry pictures in that were really important pictures. But that one in the middle shows there's 4 different clinics represented there. We're all actually from Wisconsin, but 4 different clinics, 3 of them being like what could be competitors. We never consider ourselves that. We're colleagues, but technically we could be seen as competitors. But even before this, we were colleagues, and certainly when you work together and have common goals like we did, that takes away any competitiveness that there may be. And then like the picture on the far right is Pine Ridge. And it's such a great way to just like chat about cases, share knowledge, see other vets in action, and be able to pick up tips on your own as well when you're in the field. And then Kelly Crowdis on the left is in Haiti, and it has become an extremely important colleague that we work with in Haiti. Go ahead. One of the other secret ingredients, one of the other things that at least I love about this, and I think other people probably do, is that there is no schedule. I get so tired of having to be somewhere every hour of the day, having to apologize for being late every hour of the day, and hoping people aren't upset about that. And here we show up, and as many of you know, we work all day. We work as hard or harder than we do at home, but you're just there till you're done. And you get served great meals, and you work alongside great people. And we do some paperwork, but it's not the same as at home. So, and there's something really freeing about shaking hands at the end of the day with the owner and just walking away and not having to write up the invoice and get the money and do all of that as well. Go ahead. The continuing education, we talk a lot about how we educate the owners or the vet students or the people in the area, but equally we are educated. We learn from each other. We had a behavioralist with us in this recent trip to the Osa Peninsula, and we all learned from him. We learned from vets, vets from every country, and we learn from the owners in the areas we go to. So it's like the best, in my mind, the best continuing education we can get when we're right in the field. And if you have a tough problem, you just call 3 other vets over and you all look at it together and discuss what we can do. And it's fun, and it's such a important learning technique. I bring back, even when I practice at home, I use a lot of things, a lot of either facts I learned or methods I learned in other places. And so it's really a 2-way street that we bring knowledge and we take it home with us as well. Go ahead. The owner commitment too. Like at home, we have owners committed in certain ways, but some of our owners that we see on trips are just amazing. They'll walk or ride many hours to see us. They're so committed to the healthcare of their horse. They know that we are their chance, and we're of course trying to change that so that there will be more than us and there'll be vets in their area. But they come because they recognize the value of veterinary care, and they want to improve the health care of their horse or donkey or mule. And they're so eager to learn. They just don't have the opportunity that many of us do as horse owners. So it's really inspiring. It's really fun to teach them. They are such quick learners and very confident learners. And so it's really fun to see them engaged and learning because they simply want to do better by their horse. Go ahead. And then it makes you walk outside of your comfort zone, as I mentioned, seeing Hebertomyces, which is not something we see in Wisconsin, seeing other cases that we don't see. It's fun and exciting, and sometimes a little hard to know what to do. And so it really pushes your medicine boundaries. But then as my friend Ed Metcalf in this picture, this is one of his first trips out of the country probably. And he went to Haiti with me. And I think when we got off the airplane, when I turned and looked at Ed, I think he would have got back on the airplane if he could have. He looked very uncomfortable. He had never been anywhere remotely like Haiti. But by the end of 4 days, he was best buds with several of the vet agents, and they were quite a team. So you know, it's really, I think it's good for us, but it's also really good to watch. It's really fun to watch people get pushed out of their comfort zone and handle it really well. Go ahead. And there's a lot of challenges, like we're talking about all the great parts of this job or this work. And there's a lot of challenges too. And I think for all of us as veterinarians, I think we're used to, if we work really hard, if we prepare, we will be successful. And this is not the case necessarily. Like it can be really tough in these situations. It's tough what we see in some really sad and difficult situations. But then sometimes meeting our goals is nearly impossible. We just don't have control and there's a lot of variables. So you have to be able to bounce and move and recognize that you may completely fail at something. I have this brand of a horse in Haiti, and I spent an entire trip in Haiti trying to brand the horses because the Ministry of Tourism asked us to. And then that first trip, not a single one ended up branded. It was a complete failure. And I was pretty upset about it at first until I, kind of worked through it and realized that it is what it is. And you just go back and figure it out and try it again. And now they have beautiful hibiscus flowers on them, but, but you have to be willing to do that. Go ahead, that's fine. Some of the conditions, of course, are tough. Those of you who have traveled know that the weather and the field conditions can be really rough. Some of the great and challenging parts are that we have to rely on our physical exams. We don't have the equipment and the tools that you might have at home. And that's actually really good for our medicine. It's good for young vets, especially. And just learning how to improvise and do the best that you can do in that moment. Go ahead. So how do you do this? A few strong recommendations I have is if you're in practice, don't use your vacation time. If at all possible, get this in your contract as paid time off, but not vacation time. I feel like if you go on vacation time with this, it may not help your burnout. Like it might be fun, but you're just going to be exhausted. You still won't get that break. And then don't wait too long. There are several older vets who come near retirement or at retirement, which is great, and it works too. But for some, unfortunately, they find like the wear and tear of being an equine vet all those years makes it hard on their body. Like it's hard to be in the conditions we're in or on the roads we're on. So I encourage people to do this even when they're younger, even when they think life's too busy, try to figure out a way to fit it in. And don't underestimate the value of volunteer work. It's not only for you, like we've been talking about, but your practice and your medicine and your approach will be improved as well. Go ahead. So I recommend it and have seen several new grads or people changing jobs be able to get this into their contract, having that paid time off like we talked about. And it's volunteer time, like it doesn't have to be equitarian time, but it's volunteer time regardless of which part of it you're doing. And I think I tell the students right now, like the ball is kind of in their court. There's a huge demand for equine vets. And so you have a little more say and a little more push to get this in your contract. And I think they get pushed back. Well, I know they get pushed back because they call me and tell me and I tell them, stay strong, stick with it. And many of them have it in their contracts now. And I think that's great because it's not a big stretch. It's not a real handicap for the practice. And again, there's just so many pluses, which I think the next slide will go through some of those. Go ahead. So here it is, the unexpected clinic benefits. When I started doing this, I really did it for me. I didn't think about my clinic. But I came back and, talked about it endlessly because I was so excited and that my clients loved it and they wanted to hear more. And we've done, this is a fundraiser we did this past March. But this is a really important part, especially if you're a vet who maybe doesn't own your practice. I was lucky enough to own mine, so nobody could tell me not to go. So that was easier. But if you don't own your practice, share these things that your clients will be proud of you. They're proud of your clinic. They want to be involved with a vet like that. They love to see where their money is going and hear the results directly. And they see the need, like they understand the need of horses and working horses especially. And so it really creates a great loyalty, great PR for your clients. They will see the confidence in the young veterinarians grow. So there's a lot of clinic benefits that is not really the reason we do it, but it's great that it happens. And it's a great selling point for those who are trying to get it into their contracts. Go ahead. For some of you, if you're whatever school you're graduating from, wherever you are, if you're feeling like I'm in debt, I don't know if I can do this. Maybe you can only go on one trip right now, and maybe you have to take some years off in between, but in the slide coming up, we have a lot of options and ideas of how you can stay involved, how you can still be part of it. And even if you feel like you don't have a lot to offer, especially monetarily, that's okay. Like you have knowledge, and if you have some time and can offer your skills, that is worth a lot. And don't feel like you're not an equal giver in those situations. Go ahead. So again, just sharing your knowledge, whether it's with vet students or owners, sharing your abilities. I think Lauren had just extracted a tooth that needed extracting there. Go ahead. And then the education, we can all take part in this. We can educate the future generations, whether they're where we travel to, and which is so important to get the kids involved and be helping them understand the importance of healthcare at a young age. Go ahead. Or if it's here at home, where you can talk to 4-H clubs or schools or horse clubs. There's so many ways to talk. And when I first knew I had to fundraise, I actually remember I asked Jay, I was like, I don't think I really know how to fundraise. And he's like, you just talk. All you have to do is talk. and he's right. You just tell the story, and I made on top there, I made those 3 things my goals in that order, that I would educate people, I would hopefully inspire people, and then I would raise money. And if I kept my goals in that order, I thought I would be successful. And it was, and it's really the education. There's as much education needed here about working equids as there is where we travel. People need to understand the importance of them and see the link to the family and community health as well. Go ahead. And the one thing I haven't really touched on, but that EI is active with, is research. Amy McLean in the back of the picture and Dave Turoff did some research this year, and Amy has done a lot of research over the years on donkeys and mules especially. And it not only helps the equids where we travel, but it helps donkeys, mules, anywhere, horses, anywhere we work. So there's that added benefit that we're helping the entire population when we can. Go ahead. So here are the many options of how to be involved, and certainly as a volunteer, many of you have, some of you may want to. Continuing on, like it's really a long-term commitment for those of you who want to. If you want to continue on as an instructor or even a project leader, that's a long-term commitment. But that, like I feel like what you gain only grows the longer you do this. There's a memorial giving and the fundraising by telling the story, like I mentioned. Our social media, we love people to be sharing that. We have several people who do a birthday fundraiser every year on social media very successfully. So there's so many ways, but really importantly, we want to stay in touch with those of you who have traveled with us or want to, and which is again why the EI Cafe was born, so that we could be in touch and continue to all educate ourselves on the One Health concepts and the global issues that we are facing with working equids. Go ahead. So not only the working equids, like I think horses, and I'm sure most of you would agree, I think they are amazing. And I say this all the time, like horses at home here, I say to my clients, like, what animal would jump into this little box that goes flying down the highway over and over when we ask them to, or carry us on their back, or do whatever we ask? Like, I think they're amazing animals. And then these hardworking, like extremely hardworking little working equids are just truly tough, and we really do owe them. Go ahead. So that's a wrap. I tried to say, I was practicing this a little earlier and it was so long because I could talk about this forever. And there's so many stories and side stories. I'm sure all of, or many of you have similar things you could add in, but I cut it off so that we'd have a little time for questions. I threw up the emails if anyone wants to contact me or EI, feel free to. And I'm happy to answer questions or hear comments if anybody has them.
Judy, you did so well. There were, I don't see any questions in the chat so far, but you're welcome to still post them there. And if you prefer to turn your microphone on, of course, you're welcome to do that. Please just introduce yourself, tell us who you are. And thank you, Judy. You really delivered on this topic. I think that's so important for humans, not just equine veterinarians, but humans in general, and some of the very important parts of being an equine veterinarian right now. While we're waiting on any other questions to come into the chat, I will post a link to a survey. If you could please fill that out about tonight's webinar, it will really help us out as we seek to do this again and again.
I see McClure just threw in the chat, what's the best first step to getting involved? So we had an application timeframe earlier this year, and we had a lot of applicants, and so there's an application on our website along with it's not currently open. We had a window, but there's an application and a letter of reference that people sent in. And then we have a Canvas program that Angie, as our education director, developed. And the Canvas program is for those of you who traveled before to the workshop. It's kind of those 2 lecture days that we used to have. It's a summary of those days and those topics online. And so to introduce you more to working equids, to introduce you more to EI and what would be expected if you travel. And so we currently have several mini students in that course. And so that is the best way to get involved, is to apply and then go through the course. And then unfortunately, we very carefully don't do volunteerism. We volunteer. And so we don't have like loads and loads of seats available, but we do take as many volunteers as we can on different trips, and we over time will fit people in. So be persistent and don't feel like you're bothering us, and make sure you stay noticed by us. And we will definitely work people in who want to do this, because we do think it's so important, but there is a limit, unfortunately. As our programs grow, that will grow too. But that is one of our challenges right now, is fitting in volunteers. I see Paul put in just the fear factor with respect to international travel. Yeah, that's a good question, Paul, or good comment. So we are very aware and very careful of where we travel. Like, I'm not traveling currently to Haiti, sadly. I miss it horribly, but it's not safe right now politically. So I work through WhatsApp and other things with the vet agent team that I work with, and continue that way. So we try to be careful. We are very aware, in our local contacts are really the main people who tell us if it's safe or not and where we can go. And for the most part, we're in rural villages, and I feel like country people are country people world round. They're like, usually they're friendly, they're nice, things are pretty laid back. But we're certainly very cognizant of that. And I think anybody traveling with us has to have a little bit of a sense of adventure. It's still international traveling. We're still in very remote places. So certainly that needs to be part of the desire to go. Ruthie mentioned here the language barrier and overcoming it for those who have minimal Spanish. Well, so I'm one of those still. In all my juggling, I haven't learned how to speak Spanish very well yet. But luckily we have so many local partners and international partners. So a lot of our teams are made up of a group of, a variety of vets from like this past year in Costa Rica, for example, we had vets from Honduras, Colombia, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. So we have a lot of Spanish speakers amongst it, and some of our EI traveling people are fluent as well. And so there are still a few of us who don't always on every trip, and we just are partnered with people who do. And as long as we have a good balance, it works out. And we just always make sure we have half or more people that are fluent in Spanish with our group.
Judy, we have a question from Mary Bell that asks, do we have any connection with the Indigenous program in Alberta, Canada? Which you can field if you'd like.
Sure. We, I think that's the same. We did get an email and some initial contact, I think, on that program. I at least believe it's the same program. And we did ask the person who contacted us to fill out we have a new program application basically, or proposal. And it just goes through a lot of the educational goals and questions and kind of, we look at it to see if it fits our EI model. And if it fits with what we could assist with. And so I think we're waiting for that yet to see that come back. If it's the same one. If it's a different one, then no. I don't know if we know about this, but certainly we do have a lot of Indigenous reservation work we do in the US, and would be open to discussing it in other places as well.
I don't see any other questions.
Well, thank you
you.
again. Sorry, Angie, thank you everybody for coming. It was great to get this started. We're excited about future topics, and it's such a great community. We're really happy to have you all here.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you like that. It's just, I finally was able to make Abby like silence. So I just wanted to say, hey everyone, I'm Diana Arguello from Costa Rica, Nicaragua. And I've been volunteering with EI for, I don't know, several years now. And I just wanted to say that Judy is amazing and that she represents for a lot of people, like just, the great balance. She has it all. And she has a great heart, and she's a great professional, but also a great woman. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that makes programs great. You get to meet people like you that have similar interests, and I don't know, that remind you what's the, like, why you do, why you decided to do this, right? And so if you're forgetting every now in a while why you're doing this, try to do like one of these programs.
Yeah, definitely, good point.
There's a lot of like they say, there's like so many ways you can be involved, which is great. You don't have to be exactly like in one of the countries working. I mean, I've been in the countries and I love it. I'm not gonna say no, but I've also been behind the scene doing educational material with Angie, and and there's just so many things you can do and are rewarding. So just if you feel like there's something that you want to do, just talk to these amazing women here on the screen, and they will figure out what's the best way for you to do it.
Thanks, Diana. I didn't pay her to say that about me, everybody. She is an equally wonderful woman and veterinarian, and we're lucky to have her on our team.
So thank you everyone for being here once again. And we're really happy to see you again or to see you for the first time, if this is your first introduction to the Equitarian Initiative. We really appreciate you being here, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next one. The next one, again, is scheduled for the month of June. That's June 21st at 7 p.m. Central Time, the same time as tonight, with Dr. Amy McLean. And then we resume, I mentioned in July, that's not correct, in August, every other month on the third Wednesday of the month. But please watch social media and your email for future webinar announcements. With that, we will wrap up tonight's first inaugural webinar, and a big thank you again to Dr. Judy. We really appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Take care.